Hello, my fellow YouTubers, welcome back. Now this video is going to be a continuation of what we discussed on the previous video on Microsoft Purview introduction. Now obviously when we engage with the customers to help them out, the biggest challenge is finding out where their the important documents are located, or let's say the information, and then based on that only we will be able to help them out to do anything. But the biggest challenge for the customer also, they have no clear idea, like let's say 100% where exactly their data is going to be. Okay, remember I mentioned about data can be in any location. So what we are trying to do is help out the customer first of all finding out their data. To do that one, we will be using Microsoft Purview eDiscovery. Typically eDiscovery can be used by customers like to do investigation on legal case situation like that, but in this situation we are going to leverage that feature to find out the information in their environment scattered across in various environments. Now without further ado, let's jump into the lab environment and then try to create our first eDiscovery. Now I'll go ahead and click next, and then you have the option to add it to the eDiscovery administrator as well, but I'm going to skip this part and then I'm going to click save. So that is one. And then remember, like, because eDiscovery, as I mentioned, can be used for like legal cases discovery. In that case you can actually have different roles even for viewing only, so on and so forth like that. If you don't like any of these roles, or maybe you want to create a custom role, you can go ahead and say create a role group, and then let's say custom role 1, and then you can give a description, and then after that you can add multiple groups for this one. But I'm not going to go do that one. I'm going to skip it. Let's straight away now jump back onto home and then go to the solutions and then focus on eDiscovery, because that's what the first thing we are going to do to help the customer, right? Now under this eDiscovery, the first thing we are going to do is create a case. So inside the case we can have multiple discoveries. Okay, now you can see there's already one case has been created, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new case. You have option like creating case and create a search. I'm going to go ahead and create case, and I'm going to give a name for call this one case 105, and then I'm going to say SharePoint data discovery. Let's say my objective in this situation is carry out organization wide discovery on their SharePoint data. Okay, and then another important thing is this advanced settings. Even though it's called optional, if I expand that one, you have the premium features. Now if your customer has premium feature been purchased on in Microsoft Purview, it will be great option to go ahead and enable this one. And then if you're wondering what the main differences, well, there are a lot of differences team. So basic discovery, eDiscovery, here you can see we can do search for content, we can do queries, search statistics, so on and so forth. But in premium eDiscovery we can have advanced indexing, review set, and so on and so forth. You can import external data for the review set, and then you have like conversational threading, very important in certain organization perspective. You can do tagging, you have the analytics built in. So there are a lot of other advanced features built in on premium one. For an enterprise organization it will be really useful. Now I'm just going to enable that one since I already have that license, and then create. Now think about, like, we only create the case, right? Nothing else so far. So under the case, once it's been completed, we need to carry out our actual searching. Okay, so for that, let me go ahead and wait for a few seconds until the case has been created, and then after that we will jump in and actually create actual search part. Okay, so I'll revert back once the case has been created. Okay team, so now we have the case created. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create a search. Now for that I'm going to go ahead and say let's say search case 01 search content across SharePoint environment. I'll give a description like that. Make it meaningful if you're going to do that one in the customer side. If it's a project, even the search, it's part of a project. Make sure to give a project name, then it will be very much easier for the others to find out what is this search case is all about. Cool. So now we are back onto the search one. Now the first thing we need to do now is we need to provide them what exactly we really need to search. Now there are two options you can see: add sources, individually you can define, or you can say add tenant-wide sources. If I go to add source team, you have the option to search and then provide the content area that you really want to search, maybe individual mailbox or maybe a SharePoint site, so on and so forth. But in my case, I'm focused on tenant-wide. So I'm going to say add tenant-wide sources, and then I wanted to include all the SharePoint sites. You can see all public and group and all public folders in SharePoint site. I'm going to go ahead and carry out that search. Now, even when you do this one, you can actually after that define what exactly you really wanted to search inside that one as well. So you can add conditions. Okay, so you can define the conditions by KQL or maybe like a item class, participant, and then here you can go ahead and define additional parameters where you want to do more search on this situation. Okay, for this one now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out, because it's a SharePoint farm, I'm going to go ahead and say show more, and then I'm going to select a date and then select the option I want to find out content kind, and then also under the SharePoint section, if I scroll down and file type, I'm going to select these options, and then I'm going to go ahead and say date before, maybe let's say I want to find out any contents on a particular time period before that. So example, in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's say example 2025 Jan 1st, and then the content contains any of, let's say, document types, and then the file types I'm going to say equals none of, and then this will be around ASPX, and then I'm going to do is under keyword equal, I'm just going to remove that one because I clearly define what I really want to find out, and then I'm going to go ahead and run a query. Now when I do this one, it will be given the option asking, okay, do you want it to include the categories and then include the query keyword report, so on and so forth. So I'm going to say yes, I want the categorization and then the query keyword report, I need that one, but partial index I might not need that one. Now you can see this search is going to go across like all the people and groups, and then the like even the departed users also will be covered. So this is a comprehensive search. Now this kind of a search for, like as I mentioned, on the initial engagement for discover their environment, it will be ideal. But remember, when we run this one, it's not going to be instantaneous like the response. It will take some time. So the best would be based on the customer's environment, SharePoint farm size and everything. I would highly recommend just to leave that one for like, a couple of days time period to get a best result. Now, while this is running, we will move back onto the cases, because remember there was another previously created cases. So I'll try to demonstrate you on that part. Now, if I go back to the case 104, that particular case actually doing some search across the Exchange environment. Okay, that's why I didn't want to include that one again, because it's been already carried out. Even when you create a case, I would say it will be better to do the search on those environments separately, much more clean for you to handle those data types. So here we have eDiscovery Exchange. When I click that one, it will help me to understand what was the query is all about. How the search has been defined. You can see the KQL query wise, it's going to be the data type on 2024 November 18, and it's like including, here we have docs, email, Microsoft Teams, Notes, anything on that one within the Exchange environment. Now we can actually go ahead and then look at the statistics, or we can go to the search by file preview. But in this stage, if I go to the statistics, since this has been run previously, we would be able to get some result details. Now let's give it a few seconds. Okay, so now you can see it has been ran, and then if we really want, if I believe this is not really up to date because this has run on November 2025, we can go ahead and say regenerate the view, then it will rerun the query again, team. Okay, so far it has run across and then it matches total one match, one location and one data source. But this is not the ideal demo, I know, because like in a production environment, team, it's completely different. You will find a lot of mailboxes being scanned, and then it will try to give us the inventory about the data type it has been identified, and then it will go ahead and even give in-depth for us, saying okay, what are the top locations, and I would say the top location types, so on and so forth. Additional information will be there, and then we can even export this result, which is important. Now based on that report, we can take the conversation with the customer on identified data. But please remember, when you do such discovery like this, because it's a discovery tenant wide without major fine tuning, there can be some false positives can happen. What really matters in this situation is for a conversation starting, this will be ideal for you to start with a conversation with the customer and then give an insight, high level insight. Okay, these are the data types we are finding. Now based on that, we can take the engagement to the next level, which I will cover up in the subsequent videos.